For a long time, John Costello tried to forget what happened, perhaps pretended that it had not. The devil came in the form of a man. Around him the smell of dogs. He wore an expression as if a stranger had handed him a $50 bill on the street. Surprise, a sort of self-satisfied wonder. John Costello remembered the panic of wings as pigeons rushed away from the scene, as if they knew. He remembered how darkness approached in a hurry, delayed somewhere, and now anxious to meet its schedule. It was as if the devil possessed the face of an actor, an unremembered actor, his name forgotten, yet his face dimly recognised. I know him. That's honey, this guy here. What the hell is his name? Many names. All of them meant the same thing. The devil owned the world, but he remembered his roots, and he remembered he was once an angel, cast down to Gehenna for treason and mutiny, and he withheld himself as best he could, but sometimes he could not. It was ironic, like sex in cheap motels with unattractive hookers, sharing something so intense, so close, and yet never speaking your given name, believing yourself guilty of nothing, and thus innocent. John Costello was nearly 17. His father owned a restaurant where everybody came to eat. After it happened, John was never the same. After it happened, hell, none of them were. Jersey City, out near Grove Street Station, always the smell of the Hudson. Place looked like a fist fight, even on a Sunday morning when most of the Irishers and Italians were dressed up for church. John Costello's father, Erskine, standing in front of the Connemara diner, named after the mountains where his ancestors fished in Lough Mask and Lough Corrib and hauled their catch home after dusklight and lit fires and told tales and sang songs that sounded like history before the first verse was done. Erskine was a quiet tree of a man, bold eyes, his hair black like soot. Spend enough time with him and you'd wind up answering your own questions out of loneliness. The Connemara sat beneath the shadow of the L train platform with its wrought iron steps and gantries like walkways to some other world, a world beyond all of this, beyond this universe, beyond the dreams of sex and death and the denial of hope for all that this strange and shallow quarter of the city had to offer. John was an only child, and he was 16 years old in January of '84. It was an important year, the year she came to stay. Her name was Nadia, which was Russian for hope. He met her on a Sunday at the Connemara. She came on an errand for her father. She came for soda bread. Always there was music from the radios, the rumble of laughter, the slap of dominoes. The Connemara was a hub for the Irish, the Italians, the Jews, the drunks, the ebullient, the aggressive, the angry, all of them silenced by the food Erskine Costello made. Nadia was 17, 5 months older than John Costello, but she had a world in her eyes that belied her age. You work here, she asked. First question, first of many. A great moment can never be taken away. John Costello was a shy boy, a quiet boy. He lost his mother some years before, Anne Costello. John remembered his mother well. She never forever wore an expression of slight dismay, as if she'd entered a familiar room and found the furniture moved. Perhaps a seated stranger when no visit had been scheduled. She started sentences but left them incomplete, perhaps because she knew she'd be understood. Anna Costello conveyed multitudes with a single look. She angled herself between the world and her son, Mom the buffer, Mom the shock absorber. She challenged the world, dared it to pull a trick, a fast one, some sleight of hand. Other mothers lost children. Anna Costello had only one, and this one she would never lose. She never thought to consider that he could lose her. And she spoke with some kind of instinctive maternal wisdom. They call me names at school, Mom. What kind of names, John? Whatever. I don't know, just names. Names are just sounds, John. Eh? You think of them as sounds. Just make believe they're throwing sounds at you. And what good would that do? She smiled, almost laughed. Why? In your mind you just catch them and throw them back. And John Costello wondered later, much later, if his mother would have seen the devil coming and protected them both. He smiled at the girl. I work here, yes. You own the place, she asked. My father does, John said. She nodded understandingly. I came for soda bread. You have soda bread? We have soda bread. How much? $1.25. I only have $1. She held out the note as if to prove she wasn't lying. John Costello wrapped a loaf of soda bread in paper, brown-bagged it, passed it over the counter. You can owe me. When he took the $1, their fingers touched, like touching electric. What's your name, she asked. John Costello. My name is Nadia. That's Russian for hope, she said. Are you Russian, he asked. Sometimes, she said, and then she smiled like a sunset and walked away. Everything changed afterwards, after the winter of '84. John Costello realized he would become someone else, but he could not have predicted how. Now he finds safety in routines, in counting, in making lists. He does not wear latex gloves. He is not afraid to drink milk from the carton. He does not take plastic cutlery to restaurants. He does not collect psychotic episodes to share with some shallow pervert mind voyeur on a $5,000 couch. He is not afraid of the dark, for he carries all the darkness he needs inside him. He does not collect clipped fingernails or locks of shorn hair for fear that hoodoo will be performed and he will die suddenly, unexpectedly, in Bloomingdale's, his heart bursting in the elevator, blood from his ears while people scream hysterically, as if screaming could serve some purpose. He would not go gently into that sweet good night. And sometimes, when New York was bleeding the heat of its summer from every brick and every stone, when the heat of 1,000 earlier summers seemed collected in everything he touched, he had been known to buy bottled root beer from the chilled counter and press the bottle against his face, even touch it to his lips with no fear of what fatal disease or virulent germ might be there upon the glass. See him in the street and he would look like a million others. Talk to him and he would appear to be just like you. But he was not, and never would be, because he saw the devil in the winter of '84. And once you see the devil, you don't forget his face. She came again the following day. She brought the quarter and paid her debt. "How old are you, John Costello?" she asked. She had on a skirt, a t-shirt. Her teeth were matchless. She smelled like cigarettes and juicy fruit. 16, he said. "When are you 17? "January." "You got a girlfriend?" He shook his head. "Okay." She turned and walked away. He opened his mouth to speak, but there was silence inside. The door closed behind her. He watched her reach the corner, and then he watched her disappear. Erskine Costello told his son that man was the devil in human form. "A man went for cigarettes," he said once, "and never came home." You will hear that. It has become a thing all its own, means something other than the words used, like most things. Italians, Irish sometimes. He went out for cigarettes. He went to buy a pack of Luckies. Sure, he went out for cigarettes, but whatever cigarettes he bought, they were his last. He'll be in the bottom of the sand without his fingers and toes. Later, dental recognition, other scientific advances, they used to break the teeth. Axes, hawsers, machetes, butcher's knives, hammers, ball peen and flathead. Burned a man's face off with a blowtorch, smelled bad, smelled so bad they never did it again. These things happen, Erskine said. You go looking for the devil, you'll find all the devil you could ever want right there in a man. He smiled. You know what they say about the Irish and the Italians? First son to the church, second to the police, third to jail, fourth to the devil. He laughed like a smoky train in a dark tunnel. He ruffled John's hair. And John Costello listened. He was a little kid without a mom. His father was everything to him, and he could never lie. And later, afterward, John realized that his father had not lied. He could not lie about something he did not understand. Ignorance influenced his understanding, gave him a slanted view. John saw the devil, and thus he knew whereof he spoke.